Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are going to present you the biography, early life and career of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Netanyahu was born in 1949 in Tel Aviv, Israel, to an Israeli-born mother, Sila Segal, August 28, 1912. January 31, 2000, and a Warsaw-born father, Professor Ben Zion Netanyahu, 1910 to 2012, the middle of three children. He discovered via a DNA test that he is of part Sephardi Jewish ancestry. He was initially raised and educated in Jerusalem, where he attended Henrietta's Old Elementary School. A copy of his evaluation from his sixth-grade teacher Ruth Rubinstein indicated that Netanyahu was courteous, polite, and helpful, that his work was responsible and punctual, and that Netanyahu was friendly, disciplined, cheerful, brave, active and obedient. Between 1956 and 1958, and again from 1963 to 1967, his family lived in the United States in Cheltenham Township, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philadelphia, where he attended and graduated from Cheltenham High School and was active in a debate club. To this day, he speaks fluent English, with a noticeable Philadelphia accent. After graduating from high school in 1967, Netanyahu returned to Israel to enlist in the Israel Defense Forces. He trained as a combat soldier and served for 5 years in an elite Special Forces unit of the IDF, Sayeret Matkal. He took part in numerous cross-border assault raids during the 1967–70 War of Attrition, rising to become a team leader in the unit. He was wounded in combat on multiple occasions. He was involved in many other missions, including Operation Inferno 1968 and the rescue of the hijacked Sabena Flight 571 in May 1972, in which he was shot in the shoulder. After completing his army service in 1972, Netanyahu returned to the United States in late 1972 to study architecture at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT). He returned to Israel in October 1973 to serve in the Yom Kippur War in the Sayeret Matkal Commando Unit. While there, he fought in Special Forces raids along the Suez Canal against the Egyptian forces, before leading the commando attack deep inside Syrian territory, whose mission remains classified today. He then returned to the United States and, under the name Ben Neti, completed an SB degree in architecture in February 1975 and earned an SM degree from the MIT Sloan School of Management in June 1976. Concurrently, he was studying towards a doctorate in political science, until his studies were broken off by the death of his brother in Operation Entebbe. At MIT, Netanyahu studied a double load, completing an SM that would normally take 4 years in only 2.5 years, despite taking a break to fight in the Yom Kippur War, and while simultaneously completing the thesis in a graduate course at Harvard. Professor Grewasser at MIT recalled, "He did superbly. He was very bright, organized, strong, powerful. He knew what he wanted to do and how to get it done. At that time he changed his name to Benjamin ben Netanyahu. The reference to both Mount Netanyahu and to the eponymous Jewish sage Nate of Arbela was a pen name often used by his father for articles. Years later, in an interview with the media, Netanyahu clarified that he decided to do so to make it easier for Americans to pronounce his name. This fact has been used by his political rivals to accuse him indirectly of a lack of Israeli national identity and loyalty. In 1976, Netanyahu's older brother Yonatan Netanyahu was killed. Yonatan was serving as the commander of Benjamin's former unit, the Sayeret Matkal, and died during the counter-terrorism hostage rescue mission Operation Entebbe, in which his unit rescued more than 100 mostly Israeli hostages hijacked by terrorists and flown to the Entebbe airport in Uganda. In 1976 Netanyahu graduated near the top of his class at the MIT Sloan School of Management, and was headhunted to be an economic consultant for the Boston Consulting Group in Boston, Massachusetts, working at the company between 1976 and 1978. At the Boston Consulting Group, he was a colleague of Mitt Romney, with whom he formed a lasting friendship. Romney remembers that Netanyahu at the time was strong personality with a distinct point of view and says W.E. can almost speak in shorthand. W.E. share common experiences and have a perspective and underpinning which is similar. Netanyahu said that their easy communication was a result of B.C.G.'s intellectually rigorous boot camp. In 1978, Netanyahu appeared on Boston local television, under the name of Ben Netanyahu, where he argued, "The real core of the conflict is the unfortunate Arab refusal to accept the State of Israel." For 20 years the Arabs had both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and if self-determination, as they now say, is the core of the conflict, they could have easily established a Palestinian state. In 1978, Netanyahu returned to Israel. Between 1978 and 1980 he ran the Jonathan Netanyahu Anti-Terror Institute 15, a non-governmental organization devoted to the study of terrorism. The institute held a number of international conferences focused on the discussion of international terrorism. From 1980 to 1982 he was director of marketing for RIM Industries in Jerusalem. During this period Netanyahu made his first connections with several Israeli politicians, including Minister Moshe Arns, who appointed him as his deputy chief of mission at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. a position he held from 1982 until 1984. Between 1984 and 1988 Netanyahu served as the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. Netanyahu was influenced by Rabbi Menachem ben Schneerson, with whom he formed a relationship during the 1980s. He referred to Schneerson as the most influential man of our time. It was while living in New York during the 1980s that Netanyahu became friends with Fred Trump, the father of Donald Trump. I thank you.